So here we have a 2001 Lexus LS430. This one's got about 240,000 miles on it, and as you can see, the suspension is not holding air. The rears as well, but not as bad. So the issue is, so the 2001, the front suspension is available from the dealer, the air struts, at the tune of about $1,600 each. However, there are various vendors and suppliers in Japan that will provide you with a brand new one for about $600. This is a brand new 2001 air strut here. The fronts are the same, so either left and right, it's the exact same part number. This one's 48010-50110. So I'm hoping that these last at least 100,000 miles, because I've put in so many used struts already that have just failed holding air or failed by leaking oil. Now the problem is that one of the rear struts are discontinued. No way to get them. However, the other side, they still stock them. So I was debating on what to do. You know, can you use one part number for both sides? And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to work, because if you look here, the airline is kind of offset on the left and right side. So it's not like you can, you know, put this one on the other side, because then your airline's going to be coming out of here. It's not going to line up. You can't flip them around because the airline will be on the opposite side. And they are individually part numbered. So 48080-50110 is the R, the right side. And then 48090-50110 is the left. So after some research, I determined that for some reason they changed the part number in mid-year 2002 and 2003. Uses a different part number. It ends in 50120. However, 2002 and 2003 is the same body as the 01. So I'm going to order the rear struts, air struts or air shocks from a 2003, and that'll be in another part, because those have to come from Japan as well, because those are also, again, like $1,600 a piece from Lexus, but you know, they're $700, $800, somewhere in that range, from various vendors in Japan. So yeah, there'll be another part once I get those ordered. You might ask, a lot of people convert these to the regular suspension, the spring, and regular, not strut, shock, spring and shock style suspension. And I don't know. I'm one of the people that, if it came with the air suspension, it's the Ultra model. There is a difference. A lot of people say, well, there's not much of a difference between the air suspension and non, but you definitely feel it on the freeway. If you have uneven road surfaces, if you have rough roads, the air suspension is a huge improvement over the non. And since the parts are still available, I'm gonna make it work. The other option is aftermarket suspension. Like, well, there's Chinese companies that make like a, I don't know, aftermarket strut or something. And then there's also another company in the US, Arnott, I believe, is the company that makes replacement. Well, if you're going to spend all that money anyways, you might as well just get factory, and then if you buy, even if you buy a brand new one, The Chinese ones that are on eBay for $250 or whatever a piece. Who knows how long they're going to last. Who knows if they're compatible with the dampening settings, the sport comfort, and all the the modifications to the shock that the computer makes. So you're kind of in the same situation. And then if you get a used one, this might last a year, it might last 6 months. Who knows? Like, these are used, but you can kind of see already, like, the air or the rubber is kind of wearing down in there, the airbag itself. So who knows? Who knows? And then I was considering, because I ultimately want to go back to a 04 to 06 LS430. I'm really looking for white 05 or 06 with a black interior, custom luxury or ultra luxury. It is a little bit better of a car. It's like, why don't I sell this one and get that? Well, car prices are pretty skyrocket, or going through the roof these days. And the car is fine. Everything else about the car is good. The body, it's got some rust spots because it's from the Midwest. It's got some dings and all that, but interior wise, like, I made sure I tracked down these door panels. Just a little dirty here, but I tracked down good door panels at the bottoms that don't flop around. I found a stock seat here that literally has no cracks. That's crazy. Like, this is a 22, something like that, 22-year-old car, and the seat is almost perfect. So I spent a lot of time on the interior on this thing. The passenger side has been reupholstered with like a domestic leather. It's a little bit rougher. But other than that, I mean, everything is good. And you start out with another used car and you're kind of starting over. You don't know the maintenance history. You don't know anything about anything. So the next video I'm going to go over, I got a Grom V-Line, so we're going to install Apple Play and Android Auto or whatever car, Apple Auto, I don't even know what they're called. But it integrates with the factory navigation, so you'll actually get the screen with 2023 style navigation, Android Auto, and apps and all that on there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's why I'm doing it. It's like you spend so much time and money kind of getting the car right where you want it to be that you don't want to just sell it and then start over again. Timing belt, like I said, when I got this back in 2018 or 17, $229. I put a new timing belt, water pump, that's all brand new. So it's got $239, so I've only put on 10,000 miles since, I guess this headlight's broken. No, that's another video. So yeah, the headlights are another common thing. They kind of get foggy a little bit. This left one was replaced at some point, but the bracket still got broken somehow at some point too. Yeah, it doesn't really leak any oil. I've had the transmission, the rear end seal, drive shaft to the rear end, the pinion seal, I had that replaced. That was really the only major thing I had done that was wrong with this car. The midsection, like the cat back to the mufflers, I got rust-free factory rear exhaust section, so that's all done. Then the only other issue is going on with the charcoal canister, which is up underneath like the rear diff area. I think there's a valve in there that's triggering a check engine light, but that's super low priority at this point. So I'll kind of go through and show the process, but myself, like a lot of other people too, like I've researched the solutions, and if there's part numbers, what's compatible, nobody really knows. So hopefully this video series will show you what you can get if you want to just convert everything to brand new parts and install everything. Another thing I noticed, the car has like a shimmy when braking a little bit, and then at 65, and I thought it was like wheel balance issue, but in fact it was actually control arms. So I jacked it up, removed the wheel, and then this bushing is totally like disconnected and shot. And these typically last longer. They don't have the same issues as the LS430. But I'll show you, I'll jack it up and then show you the damage. It's basically not even attached in there. And then a brand new ball joint, of course. I'm sure these are original 240,000 mile control arms. Same thing on these. These are, I think, 500 something a piece, but you can get them for like 200 each from Japan. And then they are left and right side specific because of the angle of how the wishbone is. So the right one is 48610, 59035. And then the left side is 48630, 59035. So this is going to drive like a brand new car when we're done with it. So I'll jack this up, get this off, and then start another video of what's behind here. Alright, so here we're looking at the front strut. You can see there's some moisture here. That's basically where the oil is leaking. So leaking oil doesn't have anything to do with the height. If you have height issues, that is this rubber bag underneath this cover that's leaking. And I just realized that I actually have the 2004 to 2006 KYB version, so the one ending in 50130. So these work fine. However, your front is going to be higher, raised up higher, because these are a little bit longer than the original Tokiko version for 01 to 03. So I was wondering why the front of the car was always higher the past few years, and now I know for sure. This sensor here, now if you want to adjust the height of the actual suspension, you would adjust that sensor. I believe that's going to be your height sensor, and each side has one of these. This just basically tells the vehicle, where the car is or where it should be, and then it can adjust the height of the air shock based on that. Let's see what else. Just kind of looking around here. Oh yes, so the bushings up here. So you'll see, like, this entire arm moves independent of the center part. That's not good. Basically means the bushing is not attached to the rubber bushing is not attached to the metal bushing anymore. You see on this side, if I can get in there, it's just totally toast. So that's kind of the reason we're replacing both at the same time, because you have to take this off anyways to get this. And now we're going to have the correct year strut on this 01. So like I was saying, basically at this point, January 2024, 2001, the fronts are the same part number and they are available from the dealer. One of the rears is available from the dealer, one is not. 2000 mid-model, mid-year 2002 and 2003, all four are available, and those would not be longer. 2004 and up use this longer version, and they switch manufacturers. So if you're following, if you have an 01 to 03, you do not want to use the KYB 04 to 06 because they're going to be another inch taller. So we'll pull this off. It's been off enough times before that this is just going to come off, pop out. One important thing you want to know, when you install this, you don't want this to be in this position when you torque down the control arm bolts, because then you're basically locking the bushings to an extended position. You want the car on the ground, the vehicle's weight on it at normal ride height, and then that's when you tighten down these two bolts here, because you want to torque down the rubber in the resting position. You don't want to strain the rubber, torque it, and then have the car come down and always be torquing on that rubber, because it's going to tear it eventually. So again, these are 240,000 miles, not the same as the 07 and up LS460. However, after this many miles, I mean, it's just going to separate from that. So we'll get this all off, and then I'll lay this down and kind of compare lengths on the struts to the 0103 version and then this version. Alright, we've got almost everything taken out. Very quick, I'd say 15-20 minutes per side. So you've got a cover on this side, and those are three 14mm nuts. And then you have this actuator, which is installed with the sticker towards the front, and it kind of twists on and locks. A lot of people, I'll see people buying new actuators because they think this is going to solve their air suspension problems, but I rarely, if ever, have ever seen one of these go bad. So here's where it locks onto, and then basically it just turns the shaft inside the threaded portion right there, and then that'll make it more firm or soft depending upon your settings. So you will need a 14mm deep socket here to clear these threaded posts. Like so. And then once you get these off, it'll just drop out the bottom. These I've already loosened by hand easily. Obviously you can't get those bolts out without taking the strut out first. This was a 10mm bolt that held this on to the arm, 17mm for the ball joint, and then this bottom bolt that held the strut to the control arm is a 17mm. I think the other side was actually larger. That might have been a 19 or 18. Probably a 19, that nut right there. And then that's it. I'll show you the trick to getting the airline out of here, but that's kind of the last step. I found this company, I think it was on eBay. I don't know who they're called, but the initials on here are PD, and they have a 3D printed tool that you clip onto the airline and then push it into the strut, and it pops the airline out very easily, very quickly. So that's pretty cool. You can use like a pick or a tiny flathead. Some people said they can even use the actual connector that's on the hose already. Just twist it, rotate it 180 degrees, and it'll kind of unlock itself. But this thing I've found was the best and the easiest to get the airlines out. I don't know, it was like 20 bucks or something. But very cool tool. I know Toyota has, I believe, a special tool for the same purpose, but I'll get the top out, and then basically what we're going to do is just drop the strut out the bottom. We are going to, once we loosen this ball joint here, this whole assembly is going to drop down, then we'll be able to work the strut out, and then we'll get the control arm swapped and the new strut in. So here's the 2004 to 2006 strut against the 01, early 02, and you can see at the top here it's a good, I don't know, let's call it an inch taller. So you can use it, but the your ride height's going to be a little bit higher in the front just due to that. I didn't see any issues performance wise driving with them. So here you can also see where this is really starting to fold and leak here, the oil right there. So yeah, whether or not you can, like, let's say you lowered this sensor down, so it's not like 1-to-1 either. You wouldn't move this an inch and then have the suspension come down an inch. This is going to be a much smaller adjustment to get a larger adjustment, height adjustment on the strut. So to be determined, I mean, can you install 04 to 06 air struts on a 01 to 03? Possibly. I don't know if these are the same between the models, if this plug is the same and everything, but it's possible you need these from an 04 to 06, and then essentially the car would think it's you know, everything's correct. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if these are different or not, or if you can reuse these. Not really thinking about that, because we're just going right back to factory on this one. So these are loose. Just take them out by hand right here. So I've already loosened them up. It's very easy. I mean, this is not complicated stuff. If you got a home garage and a jack stand, this one's going to be tight now, of course. Now, this is something easily you can do on your own over the course of an hour or something. And well, actually, when I pulled this strut out, it pulled the airline right out, so I didn't even need the tool. Like I said, I've replaced these like 3 or 4 times now with used ones in hopes that they'd last more than, you know, a couple thousand miles. But it's not the case. It's fine, whatever. This car also sits a lot. It can go months without driving, so that could also contribute to these used struts just not lasting in here, because this thing rarely gets driven. I've only put on 10,000 miles since 2017, so that's six years, 10,000 miles. So alright, so here's the struts, or the struts, control arms out. You can see, oh, you can't really see. You can't really see how bad it is unless you're actually pulling on it. So yeah, it's very difficult to actually do outside the car, but we verified that they're pretty well torched. So this is the right side. So we are going to need the right side marked R just to verify it's the same. Yep. So basically we'll put this back in and then get the strut in there, tighten everything down, and then move on to the driver's side. Alright, we've got everything installed. Go over torque specs in a second here. Up top, it's important to note, I forgot that there's like a little access port here for the airline. So if you pop this out, that's how you actually insert the airline. It's kind of tight against the wall. So very easy. I mean, it's just a little rubber grommet, and then you can push the airline into the strut once the strut's installed. I think for later years they moved the airline so it's actually accessible, but for this it's butted up right against the wall. So we'll go through some torque specs here. So these are 39 foot-pounds at the control arm to chassis. The ball joint here is 64 foot-pounds, and then you get that satisfying little retainer clip here included. The lower strut, the strut bolt down here is 116 foot-pounds. And then if you're replacing this is a common thing to go out. This rubber bushing mount back here, control arm. This is, you can press these out and just buy the rubber part and then press them into the mount here. But this large bolt here is 150 foot-pounds, very important. The small one is 63 back here. And you'll have to remove this little nut up here for the plastic part to access this large nut here, which is 83 foot-pounds. And again, you want the car on the ground before you tighten this up, because this is going to put flex torque on the bushing. So car flat, vehicle weight down, and then you torque this to 83. And the same with these up here. There's no way you're going to get a torque wrench in here, so just do them tight by hand, I'd say, once it's down on the ground. But very, very important to do those when the vehicle is on the ground. Otherwise you're putting excess strain on the actual bushings. So that's it. The other side is pretty much the same. At some point later, next, I'll do the video of the rears. But typically the rears don't have as many issues as the fronts. But I'd say in the next, I don't know, month or two, I'll have the rear video done, and then we can kind of compare and contrast everything and see what's what with all the new strut stuff. So hope this helps somebody kind of figure out what they're going to do, what route they're going to take. I see these 01 to 03 LS430s all the time now on Marketplace and Craigslist and everywhere else, and you can pick them up for $2,000, $3,000, typically up to like, you know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for really nice low mileage ones. But I just feel like buying them all. I really like this car. I do prefer the 04 to 06 better, but honestly, I'm just nitpicking stuff at this point. It's just a little bit more refined, I think, smoother. You know, some of the exterior looks are better, but either way, this is kind of the car, the best car that you know, Toyota Lexus possibly ever made. Very reliable, and other than the air struts, like everybody knows, but I mean, if this lasts 100,000 miles, it'll probably outlast this vehicle. You know, I don't know what's going to happen, how long I'm going to have this thing, but you know, hopefully it'll last a while. And you can't beat OEM goodness. You just can't. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go drive this thing and enjoy it like it's 2001 again. Another tip I realized when I did the other side was, obviously, if these are factory, this torqued height right here, you can measure the distance between the arm and the frame here, and then simply torque it into place right here, instead of trying to figure out like how much does it go down when the car's on the ground or up or whatever. This way you can get a torque wrench in here and properly torque both of these to 39 foot-pounds. It's just going to be important to kind of measure, you know, take a point from here to here and then measure. For me, for example, this is about 4, there's a little nub here, and then right on that nub to the frame, it's about 4 fingers. So I'm just going to go ahead and torque it down right there, and I don't have to worry about messing around with wrenches in here or anything else. So here's the little air line in the hole I was talking about. Goes into the engine bay, so you can stick your hand on the other side and then just shove this in and lock it in place. And yeah, that's it. So driver's side was much quicker. Obviously I wasn't doing the video and stopping in every couple seconds or minutes, but everything looks the same over here. And yeah, so we'll just finish that up and we'll be on our way.